Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Root of All Controversy podcast. I'm your host. My name's not important. But no, seriously though. This is the first episode of the podcast. Unfortunately, I don't have a whole camera crew with me, so there's gonna be a video of this anyway. But that's besides the point. So I want to jump right into this. I figure I'm going to kick off this first transmission with something a little unusual and something that really gets people's feathers rustled when I talk about it, because it is very fantastic when you mention some of the things that some of the information that I put out is very fantastic. Sometimes too fantastic even for the most open minds. But here's the thing I want to talk about. I want to get into talking about non-human entities manipulating society, because that's the biggest anomaly or enigma that I see when I talk about shit sometimes. So this whole thing about non-human entities manipulating society is not an idea that I sat in a room and conjured up out of nowhere. This has been talked about since the cradle of civilization. The ancient Sumerians, the Mesoamericans, the Chinese, the Asians, the Babylonians. I mean, this goes all the way back in history. Okay? So before we talk about what or who these entities from other dimensions are, we must get into the nature of reality. Because when you tell somebody that non-human entities are manipulating society, a hidden hand is manipulating society, people say, okay, that's fucking crazy. Yeah, it sounds fucking crazy when you haven't done an inch of research on it. Now, by automatic default, a lot of people swat the question away, or swat, it's basically like plugging the ears, like, oh, I don't want to hear this, I don't want to hear this, just by reflex action, just because that's how we've been programmed so long to not even look into other things, different natures of forms of reality. So why and how is this possible? These reptilians, not always reptilian, but a lot of them take a reptilian form, are, like I said, operating on a frequency band that is outside of our spectrum. Okay, so let's get it down to brass tacket. According to mainstream science, this is how I learned it. According to mainstream science, the electromagnetic spectrum, which is the reality that we live in, is not 0.005% of the whole universe. And the universe is just an expanse, it's just it's like an extension of forever. You know what I'm saying? It's like a breakaway of forever. So, okay, that's down pat. So, not 0.05% the electromagnetic spectrum compared to the universe. Now, here's another thing. According to mainstream science, planet Earth is 1/billionth of a pinhead. Okay? Compared to the whole entire creation of it. The whole galaxy and all this shit that we can see so far. It's 1/billionth of a pinhead. So people laugh and giggle when you tell them that this world can be manipulated by a non-human entity when their eyes can only see a slither of the frequency band that we live in. Okay? Your eyes see visible light. That's the only frequency we can tune into. That's the only frequency we can see with the naked eye is visible light. Okay? So these entities, like I said, they operate right outside of the spectrum of human perception, which is what the ancients call the unseen. You read all the ancient texts, like some of the ones I mentioned earlier in the transmission, you'll see everything that I'm talking about. It's always non-human entities interfering in sacrifice to the gods and blood rituals and all this crazy shit. It's always like that in every culture. Go research it. But the reason like I said, these entities operate in the lower fourth dimension. Okay, it's not a higher reality, it's an expansion of this reality. Okay, because if they were in a higher reality in the terms of consciousness, they wouldn't do the things that they do. So when you tell people that, they look at you crazy. But here's the thing: people have no problem with how the channels work on the old analog system. Okay, you got Fox News, you got CNN, you got Disney Channel, Cartoon Network, all these shows operating in the same space, but at different frequencies, and they never interfere with each other unless they're very close on the dial. Okay, all these, I'm gonna say it again, all these channels that we watch operate within the same subspace, but they're different frequencies, so they never interfere with each other unless they're very close on the dial. At which point, when you change the channel on your remote, you change the frequency, okay? And then we see something else displayed. The same way those channels don't interfere with each other unless they're very close on the dial, the same way realities exist in our world without ever interfering unless they're very close on the dial. Now, at that point of interference with these non-human entities, anything close on the dial, any interference at all, or interaction at all, is what we call ghosts or paranormal activity. So people laugh, like I said, when you tell them that this world can be manipulated by non-human entities when they can only see a slither of the frequency band that we live in on a planet not 5% of the whole universe. Now, just think for a second. Look at all the different forms on the planet. Look at all the diversity of forms within humans. From Africans to Caucasians to Europeans to the Chinese. Look at all the different variations of form, okay? Now, let's not even talk about the animal kingdom, and let's not talk about the insect kingdom or even the sea world, okay, which is still basically unexplored. We don't know what the hell's down there. So if people realize what I just said, and that we barely can see anything, humans are basically blind compared to everything. You know what I'm saying? Then people would go, hold on now. Well, if I can't see basically anything, then what the hell else is out there? You know what I'm saying? It opens minds to this. So this is why this has been on the back burner for a while. I put this on the back burner. I just figured I'd start talking about this because I knew about this topic for a relatively long time, but I honestly didn't think it would, socially do well when I started talking about it. But people want to know what the nature of reality is. And if we want to get into it, to brass tack it, you look at all the mainstream scientists now, it sounds insane. But they're all coming out saying that this is a false hologram. It's a simulation. Reality is holographic. Okay? This reality is not real. We are in the equivalent, according to mainstream science, our reality, the electromagnetic spectrum, is the equivalent of a cosmic video game. Okay? They found out that the physics of this reality that we live in work the same as a video game. So people say, oh, okay, that's cool. You could be a scholar saying something like that. But then again, tell me, how can these things shapeshift? You're telling me the world leaders or the hidden hand or whatever are shapeshifting reptiles. Well, when you put it like that, you sound like a schizophrenic. You have to break it down. Now, if a person asked me, could they shapeshift from physical to physical? I would agree. It is totally impossible. But you know why it's possible? Because there is no such thing as physical. There is no such thing as physicality. This universe that we live in is a holographic projection. It's kind of like how the computer decodes Wi-Fi. The computer on screen is interacting and interfacing with all the signals around it to then decode on the computer what is happening. But it's only happening on the screen. The same way the computer interferes with all the Wi-Fi, the same way our bodies, which is an electromagnetic, we are electric creatures. Your skin is like an antenna. We are electromagnetic, okay? And they've even taken pictures or little pictures of it, like thermally, of the ectoplasm is what they call it, but it's really called your aura. They just call it ectoplasm, okay? So if there is no physicality, the world that we live in, according to mainstream science coming out now, more and more scientists are actually accepting this theory, is only presented to us when observed. Thus, when this world is not observed but decoded, then that's when the shape-shifting takes place. Because when we're talking about shape-shifting, we're actually talking shape-shifting hybrids. I'm actually talking about a hybrid informational field, okay? Because we're information. Everything is information. Information, okay? They're hybrid information fields, meaning that if I was looking at a physical person and they were reptilian, my eyes, my physical eyes, the visible light spectrum eyes, would see just that person. But when the shift happens and it can switch that energy from basic perception to the hybrid informational form, then that's when the decoding process happens and you actually see this transformation. That's what the shape shifting is all about. It's not actually happening because there is no physical reality. This is all an illusion. It's all a hologram, according to mainstream science. They're even coming out saying all of this. People down in Silicon Valley, people working on the Hadron Collider, people working in CERN, all of them are coming out with these theories. And so Here's another way to look at it. Our bodies, according to the information that I've researched, and according to some mainstream science, our bodies are empty space. Look, you are made out of atoms. What is an atom? According to science, atoms make up everything in existence. So, what is an atom? Is an atom physical? No, it's not. An atom is I'll just call it a frequency, a type of frequency that you really can't see. So if our bodies are made up of something that we can't even see, then that obviously means that we are the same holographic illusion that the atom makes up.